I've been going on once a week. Once a week. This week I'm gonna do two. I have another one on Saturday.
Yeah. And it looks like athletes and coaches, like
Mm-hmm.
everyone.
Yeah, 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 yeah. All right. Well, we'll get
Awesome.
started. Want to welcome everybody to another episode of Levi's Youth Sports Talk. First off, we start off by thanking my sponsors, Justin Womack for the chain you see there, and Steve Aguado for the banner right behind me. I'm the host, Levi, and today we want to welcome a former college softball player and head coach, and now she's a softball instructor of Shape Up Softball Academy, and she's also a mental performance coach. So I want to welcome Michelle Schaper. Did I say it right?
You nailed it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
Welcome,
Levi.
Michelle.
I appreciate it.
Welcome, welcome to the
Thank
show.
you.
I know it's been a while. We've been, woo, a good while. We were
Yeah.
trying to get this done. Finally getting it done. So let's get right to it.
Sounds good.
All right. First off, we want to start off talking about your upbringing and what other sports you played growing up.
Sure. Yeah. Upbringing. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. Uh, I have three brothers. So when you talk about like having a competitive mentality, I competed for everything. So when you talk about other sports I've played, so you name it, I played it. Uh, however, what I actually like competed in, right, on a team, I played softball. Obviously travel. I played soccer on a travel team. I dabbled a little bit in track, also in basketball. But Levi, I'm like 5'1" on a good day. So basketball really wasn't my thing. So I let that go. But yeah, other than that, like roller hockey out front, football, right? So I'm pretty sure had women been able to participate in football and age myself here, but back in the day, right? I probably
Mhm.
would have played that as well. So
Okay, okay. And so you play all those sports, and what made you choose, to further your career in softball instead of going into college to play other sports?
yeah, well, actually, I'd kind of considered being a two-sport athlete and playing softball and soccer, but I had a pretty serious injury the summer before my freshman year of college,
Mm.
and so before going to college, then I there was no way I was going to pass my physical. So I ended up having two surgeries. I was able to make it through my freshman year of uh, the softball season, but I had to give up soccer, um, and so the physicality, right, was not going to do me well, and so uh, at that point, that's when I gave up. That's when I gave up soccer. I already told you about basketball and why I gave that up, um, and track was like a middle school thing.
Okay, and with your injury, what was the injury that you had?
Yeah, so I had dove on a pretty hard field we were told not to, right? But it was just instinct.
Mm.
Um, and so I damaged some nerves, tore my wrist flexors, broke some bones in my left arm and elbow. And it was pretty serious to the point where I was losing some feeling in fingers and whatnot. So I had a surgery after my freshman year softball season. Then I had a second surgery after my sophomore year. So pretty much, I was pretty lucky. I got in with the St. Louis Cardinals doctor, and he got me through season. And then I was able in the off season to have the surgeries, recover, and then get through season again.
Okay, so you work with athletes every day. How do you teach them that failure isn't final, but actually an essential part of developing as an athlete?
Yeah, so failure is a process. Everything is a process. And so I like to really teach that we need to have a healthy relationship with failure.
Mhm.
I think this world is crazy, right? And
Mhm.
we are taught that failure is something that's negative. But if we don't fail, then we don't learn. And
Right.
so, I also deal a lot with athletes who uh, strive for perfection. They want to be perfectionists, right? And a lot of times it's not just in sport, it's in academics, it's at home, it's when they make their bed, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and so I really like to say, let's be a master, right? Instead of be a perfectionist or not learn about failure, let's be a master. Because if we're a master, right, that means we've had trials and tribulations. We've had those failures and those successes. Because a master, right, has so many times before they actually are successful at something.
Mhm.
And so they learn and then they can teach, right? So I like to actually teach my athletes what they're doing so that they can teach themselves.
Okay. In your experience, what are the most common enemies of mental toughness that show up in young athletes?
Yeah, I think the first one's self pity.
Mm.
So, I mean, um, when we feel sorry for ourselves, right? And a lot of times when I first bring up that word self pity, it's really hard to admit, right? When we're feeling sorry for ourselves or we want others to feel sorry for ourselves, right? And so, but once I give a couple of examples and, tell them, even when I felt sorry for myself and had to learn, right? Because we've all been there. Um,
Right.
it's a lot easier than for them to say, "Yeah, I've been there. Yeah,
Mhm.
I've done that," and then they understand. Uh, and so, it doesn't just it's self pity, right? But it also then extends to the team. So I would say self pity is definitely number one.
Okay. So
Yeah,
most athletes, they, especially younger athletes, they want success fast, right away. They
yeah,
go to one batting practice, one fielding practice, whatever, and okay, I'm top dog around here, right? How do you explain that failure is actually part of the process and not something to fear?
yeah. As a college coach, I saw this a lot. Um, so you find that diamond in the rough at a high school, and they're cream of the crop, right?
Mhm.
And so you want them to come play for you, but then they get to college, and there's others that are on the same level, or maybe they're better than them, and all of a sudden they're hit with that reality of I'm not the best, right?
Mhm.
Um, or like what you're saying, they want that instant gratification. And actually, I was working with a player today, and she's a phenomenal athlete, so I know she would not mind me using her as an example here. But we were working on um, actually pushing her weight back a little bit into her swing, right? The rubber band effect, right? The push and the pull, and um, she was getting frustrated because she wasn't hitting the ball as solid as she normally does, right? Um, and so I had to stop for a minute and I said, "Hey, look, are we working on staying through the ball and your contact right now, or are we working on pushing your weight back and the rubber band effect?" And she was like, "The rubber band effect." And I was like, "Okay, so I need you for a second to forget about. I know it's really hard, but I need you to forget about the end result here, right? We'll get to that."
Mhm.
And she's talented enough to where that's going to come real fast, right? Once she gets the other piece put together. And for some that happens and some it doesn't. But uh, she was able to get that weight pushed back, and then all of a sudden she started hitting through the ball, right? And then she's like, "Oh, I can hit." Well, it's not that you couldn't hit, right? We kind of joke about that, but
Mhm.
it's not that you couldn't hit, it's that you were focusing on something else. So maybe your swing, your contact was a little off, right? And it was really just her timing. So, um, It's just piece by piece. Every athlete's different. You got to coach everybody a little bit different. Um, I like to have fun with them, keep it lighthearted. If you get too serious, right, they're going to shy away. But you really kind of got to break things down and work through it with them.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Because, like you said, you got to make it fun, but then you have to know when to, okay, like, yes, it's fun, but you got to get serious at this point, right? And I know sometimes it can be hard, with the younger athletes that when it's like, okay, now when do they turn off the fun part, right? Like, I know, so
Yeah.
when I did help coaching out, I always help coaching the younger girls in softball. I always help coach the younger ones, the 8U level. And sometimes when it's time to turn it off, it's difficult. It's difficult to get them to, hey, okay,
Yeah.
now stop, like now,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you have to realize, you remember that they're young, so you got to know when to let them know exactly when it's time to, okay, like, we was fun, we was having fun, let's get serious. Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that that's critical, right? I like to do a lot of my lessons one on one. And so, for that, right, it's I get to know them, they get to know me. But you also don't have that, that other athlete or that friend egging them on in those moments, right?
Right.
And so, but, I have pitchers that bring catchers along with them. And, even if they're not someone that works for me, I try to give them pointers, while they're here if they want to take them. And I think it's all about, we always say how much the athlete knows you care, then they're going to respect you and respect those boundaries, right?
Mhm.
And so I think, I've been really lucky to work with some really great athletes.
Okay. So you teach pretty you pitching and hitting.
Yeah, so I do pitching, hitting, catching, and when I can get outside, I do fielding. Or if I go with someone, right, then I'll do some fielding. So it just kind of depends, but for the most part, in the one lane that I have, um, I do the pitching, catching, and hitting.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
And what positions did you play while you was in college or playing softball?
yeah. So I've dabbled in all, right? But when I was in college, I was a middle infielder. And then as a graduate assistant, I was in charge of more outfield, a little bit catchers. And then once I moved into that head coaching position, right, it was all bets off. I had to know everything. And so at that point, right, then um, I had pitched when I was younger, so I had a little bit of knowledge, but the game has changed, right? And so I had to kind of go back to the drawing board, and I'm always still right learning. So it's fun to be able to teach different aspects, right, and stay up with the game in order to do so.
Yeah, the game has changed. It's changed. I mean, I was never this, athlete and all that stuff. I played basketball, throughout, but never like serious. I guess you can say after high school for me was the serious that I went into sports. I never was, into the select and the travel and all of that stuff, but
Yeah,
I am now.
yeah, you are. What brings you into it now?
So my daughter, she started playing. She was a girl. Started playing baseball with the boys when she was 3, and
Nice.
then by 5, she was playing 8U at 5, and then that's when we started traveling, and
Yeah.
that was the end of life after that.
Oh my gosh, once you start with the travel ball, you're in trouble, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, and now it's a whole nother ball game now, right? She is her first year 14U now, so
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
I have
yeah.
twin boys that are 12 and they're both in travel baseball. And
Mm.
so I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different. It's different today than when I played, right?
Hmm.
And even when I coach. So
Yeah, and now I have two. My other two, I have. They play flag football. They're starting to play flag football now. So, and it's actually, for my daughter, she's a quarterback, really good quarterback. I don't know how she got so good at playing quarterback. I don't know, but she's 10 and she can throw that football like no other, And my son, he's the same. But they very competitive with each other. They'll go outside, just them two, and play one-on-one of football, flag football game outside one-on-one.
love
So
it.
they very competitive with each other.
Yeah, flag football's on the rise.
Yes, yes, and so out here in Houston, they're trying to get it into the more into high school sport, the UIL. They're trying to get it in with UIL. I know other states have it, so
Yeah,
they're trying to get it out here in Texas too.
yeah, that's so cool. Okay,
Hmm.
so I've done some work with our women's professional team here in Des Moines,
Okay.
football, and I know that that's something that they're really helping with too is flag football. So that's
Yeah, I
awesome.
hope it. Yeah, I hope it's good. Extra sport for the girls to play. Like I hope it goes. They'll keep going up like it's been going.
Yeah, and good for her. She must have a good arm.
She actually do. I think she can literally throw like 30 yards, just no like legs and nothing, just launch it 30 yards. Like she's a good quarterback. She's a very good quarterback.
Wow, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
So something that what's one example where an athlete's failure turned into a breakthrough in their performance or mindset?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, I mean, to be honest with you, Levi, I think I see it so often, right? I mean, there's so many different studies regarding softball and baseball, right? And how those particular every sport's hard, right? I'm not gonna say that something else is easier, right? But in softball and baseball, you fail over and over and over and over and over again, right? Um, and so um, it's not like I always say, your parents, your fans are pretty much coming to watch you fail, right? You've probably heard the stat, right? You're successful 3 out of 10 times, and that's a great batting average, right? So I mean that tells you it right there. And I could go into different studies and stuff, but I won't bore you, okay? So
Oh, you fine.
or bore anyone else that's watching. So I think like like I said, every single day, I think I see these athletes fail, um, but then they overcome it, and I think that's a really cool part. Like the example I gave you earlier. Where all of a sudden the light bulb went off of, oh my gosh, now I'm putting it all together. Um, I think I will say probably. I mean, the physical lessons are one aspect, right? When I get that message from an athlete who maybe has not when I first started with them, maybe they're not showing very much power, right? And little by little, we've been increasing the power, and then I'm getting messages. I'm hitting the bottom of the fence. Oh, I hit the middle of the fence. Oh, I'm hitting the bottom. And I'm like, why are you doing that? You're supposed to hit it over the fence, right? Like, haven't I told you that? Um, anyway, and then I get that message of, oh my gosh, she hit her first home run, you know? Um, or for instance, another particular athlete, not only did she hit her first home run, but the second one right after the first, the next at bat in the same game. Like, I think those are the big, like that can be a frustration for athletes, right? And I tease them about it, like, why are you hitting the bottom of the fence? You should get a new hitting coach. Why is she teaching you to do that? And I think it's like that's the lightheartedness, that's the humor, right? But Um, they're not failing. They're doing great. Those are great hits, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it takes a bit, right? I mean, there's a big process there before we get to the point that they're actually putting them over.
Mm-hmm. As
I would sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm saying as a hitting coach, what's that feeling like when you get a parent or something send you the video of their kid hitting that first home run?
I'm so happy for them. I just like um I can't respond back fast enough. Like, yeah, that's so awesome. Congrats, right? Like, they're doing the work, right? I'm lucky enough to be a part of the process a little bit, a little piece of the pie, right? And help them along, but they're the ones who are actually making it happen. Um, and so I just think that it's cool. It's cool that they reach out to me and let me know, right? And let me be a piece of it when it happens, right? They don't just show up to the next lesson and say, "Oh, by the way, guess what happened?" They're like, "Hey, we need to tell Michelle," right? And I think that that's pretty cool.
Okay, yeah.
I would say on the mental performance side, I've seen like huge growth. I had an athlete that came to me, and she actually was going to be she was going to be removed from her team. She was having trouble just not being kind to teammates in her responses to coaches. Effort wasn't there. And so we started working together, and it was on the field stuff, but it was also off the field items that we needed to address. And she actually became captain of the team.
Mm.
Um, by the end of us working together. There were small things like her and her mom agreeing on how laundry was going to be taken care of in her room, right? Her room was atrocious. And mom couldn't stand it, right? So it wasn't, that's the mental performance piece, is it's not just on the field. It encompasses everything, right? Like being excellent everywhere. So I think in both areas, I'm just pretty lucky with what I get to do.
Okay. If you could give every young athlete one mental toughness habit to start tomorrow, what would it be and why?
I would say um, um, games are meant to be fun, and every sport is a game, and so don't forget that component, right? And the reason why is, I think just whether it's the athlete themselves, or it's coaches or parents, or a college scholarship, right? Um, these athletes have so much pressure that's being put on them, and uh, because of that, we forget to have fun, right? They forget to enjoy what they're doing. And that is happening earlier and earlier and earlier in their life. And and it just um, it makes me sad for them sometimes, right? To see them not having fun and enjoying what they're doing, and it ruins. It sometimes takes an athlete out of the game much earlier than what they potentially could contribute, and maybe teach others too eventually. So I would just remind them of that, to have fun, and remember it really is a game.
Hmm. I think a lot of the young athletes, they take it serious, and then when they mess up, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't do this anymore, right? And it's like, no, actually, you're doing pretty good. Like you said earlier, that 3 out of 10, the 3 for 10, in I guess in once they hit college, they think about, okay, well, okay, yeah, 3 out of 10 is good there, but when I'm playing in with the younger ages, 3 out of 10 is not good.
Oh, I definitely agree with what you're saying, and I think a lot of that is backed by like coaches and parents, right? That 300, I mean, that comes from somewhere, right? The
Mhm.
the athletes don't just come up with that knowledge of hitting in the 300s is not okay, right? That's a learned behavior, and so or learned mindset, I guess. And so uh, I wish that instead of looking at the stats so much, right, we could look at the impact as an athlete, right, that we're making. Did we drive in a run? Did we move a base runner? Right? Did we put the ball in play? What do we do for our team? Right?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I just stats are a whole nother thing. And I know I brought up the 3 out of 10, right? But I we focus on stats a lot, right? And I wish we could just get them out the door.
Mhm. Yep. That
Yeah.
that little app, that little GC app, that little green GC app.
Well, yes, yes, yes. And it's I had one athlete tell me, well, it's accountability for myself. Well, you could have a great at bat, right? But your batting average could go down, right? But you could do something really well. You could do something really good for your team. You could do something really good for your confidence, right? Maybe you're in a hitting slump, and you fall off 5 pitches. And so it's just, I actually for my work study job in college, I did our team stats, like after the games, right? And yet I never looked at my own stats. Like I had all the access, right? But I never looked at my own stats. Um, I just, I had no care to, right? Like, I just wanted to make sure I was doing my job.
Mhm. That's different, right? Because for most time you go and look into the stuff, first thing you looking at is your stats. I don't care about the other people's stats. I see what they, did. What did I do? What did I do? How did I get? How you know what I mean? Like that. So going in and not
Oh,
looking
yes.
at your own stats is that. Ooh, that's tough.
Yeah. But I mean, it wasn't tough for me. I just, it wasn't anything that I was ever, and maybe that's just, my parents didn't grill me on my stats and what I was doing here. You know what I'm saying? It
Mhm.
was just more like do what you need to do for the sake of the team. And so uh, I hope that I can do that for my own kids, right?
Mhm. How can parents and coaches better respond to failure so they help instead of unintentionally hurting an athlete's mental game?
Yeah. So I have a lot of coaches that reach out and ask or say, my team is super, super talented, but we're not winning. And I feel like it's a mental hang up, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of times they're not wrong. I mean, if you've got the physical talent, then what's the dividing factor, right, between you and your team and a team that's actually winning? And a lot of times it is that, like, how are we responding? What is the environment, right? And I also am always asked when before I start any mental performance sessions with individuals, parents always say, do you want us on the call or do you not want us on the call, right? Um, and I always leave it up to them, and I leave it up to them and their athlete. Um, for me, it can only benefit. However, sometimes the athletes are more open, right, without the parent there, because sometimes uh, it could be the parent responses, right, that are sometimes causing the athlete to feel a certain way, right? And so then sometimes we bring the parents on. So I think I think parents have a certain role, and so do coaches, right? Coaches are there to teach, and so they're going to see the athletes fail over and over and over again. But then their job is to, well, how can we do better? What can I teach you? And I think it's up to the coach to know, and have they're responsible to know what to do with that athlete, right? To fix whatever that failure or that mistake was, right? Is it physical or is it mental? Um, what do we do better next time, right? It's not a, or should not be a yelling and a screaming, right? Or a, I guess, condescending tone toward the athlete. And I think that's what I see a lot, is the condescending tone, right? Um, and so then the parent has a role too. And, sometimes the parent tries to be the coach. Um, and sometimes the parent just oversteps the boundary. And a lot of the athletes that I talk to, they want their parent to be their parent. They want them to be supportive. They're like, I have a coach. My coach is my coach. I hear that the car ride home is the worst, right? Um, they don't want to get grilled on the way home or told what they did right or what they did wrong, right? They just want support.
Mm-hmm.
um, and they want to be able to reflect. And so I think it's up to us as parents, right, and up to us as coaches, mental performance coaches, um, in my business, to say, hey, like, this is what I'm hearing from athletes. Um, you know, Try to fulfill your role. Listen to your athlete. They're probably telling you what they want and what they need. So let's just try to listen a little bit more and try to fulfill the role that they need us to be in at that time.
Hmm. Yeah. I didn't heard, man. I mean, I didn't heard people talk about their car ride home. I've never. I can say me personally. I used to be that parent. Like, let's go do this, do that, do that. And it's like at some point, and it's
Yeah.
like, why? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You not helping. You're not helping. And
Right.
now being in the 14U division, and to still hear parents, yelling and telling their kids what they need to do, this and that, and it's like I think they know it. If they should know, at this point, and you know, I see kids right after the game come out the dugout and bam, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not helping at all.
Mm-mm. No, no, and I always feel bad for the athlete in that, and I've also, the older they get too, right? Like, I've been on the recruiting side where that can really harm an athlete's opportunities, right? Um, to be recruited somewhere too, and I think sometimes as parents we don't recognize uh, the harm that we're doing. And so uh, I yeah, I feel like as parents we need to step back, and if our athlete wants to continue to play and play at that level, right? There comes a time when if we're not on the field coaching them, right, and we're in the stands, and we need to literally be in the stands and be social with the other parents and create a good atmosphere, right? But also create a good atmosphere for our athlete, um, when they come off the field, and be celebratory and supportive for them.
Right. If you could give an athlete a mental toughness cheat code, would it be patience, confidence, or just a giant mute button for the inner drama?
Hmm. Inner drama. I like how you say that. Yeah, man. That's hard. Like, uh, all three. Um, yeah. Man. Confidence is when you look at the or when you hear the males and the females um, speak about mental toughness, um, confidence is a huge issue in females. And I'm not saying that it's not in males. It is, but it's hidden more, right? But for females, this the confidence it's a really big issue, and so that's why I hesitate in saying inner drama. Although that's what I want to say, because I think that just really it really just paralyzes them, right? And it paralyzes athletes to the point where it can, and it does, then affect their confidence as well. So I guess maybe I'd have to go with C, Levi, because I think that encompasses. Sorry, sorry, my pup's barking. I
Uh,
think that encompasses confidence too. Yeah.
okay. What's the funniest excuse you've ever heard a player give on why they weren't
Oh,
mentally locked in?
oh my. I have heard so many. I should get a book, a notebook, and write them down. Um, and oh man, I like to tease my athletes, right? So I tell them I can take it too, and so I get some pretty funny responses. I don't know about the mentally locked in. I've had some I I don't, I'm not sure that I have a good one for you right now, but what I will tell you is when I was coaching at the collegiate level, I had a pitcher who we won the game, but it wasn't until the bus ride home that she told me she forgot her contacts. She had pitched the whole game without her contacts in, and I yeah, I about lost it. I could not even believe it. Um, she actually threw really well. So I had to really kind of think about and consider like future games and future practices and if I was going to let her, visually see. But she, yeah, I, she was a senior. And so, we had been together for quite a few years. And I think she knew how I would react if she told me before. So, she was like, I'm gonna go for it, and she did phenomenal. But yeah, told me afterward. So
That's,
that's pretty. I'm not sure it's an excuse because she was successful, but yeah. So
that's that's a little different right there. You can't see
that's
one bit and you forget your contacts.
all right. I yep. So not sure about that one, Levi.
What's one simple daily habit athletes can use to strengthen their mental health?
Hmm. I think a simple daily habit is I like to say be excellent, right? And so that doesn't just encompass uh, being early to practice, showing up with all your equipment, making sure you're prepared, being a good teammate, right? It starts in the morning before they go to school, right? Or even the night before, I guess, being prepared for the next day, getting a good night's sleep, um, making their bed, right? Eating a good breakfast. And so being excellent doesn't mean being perfect. It means being a little bit better than who you were the day before, right? And trying to strive for something a little bit more than maybe the person you're competing with for a particular position. And so, if we think about the word excellent, right? It's kind of like that thing I talked about earlier, being a master, right, rather than the perfection. But if we can strive to be excellent, then we're going to have that step above the rest, right? Who are maybe not getting the reps in when we are. So that would be my advice.
No, okay, okay. What's the biggest mindset shift young athletes struggle with that you've seen so far?
Um, I think most of it is knowing process, right? Failure, um, and confidence. Uh, I also think I'm not sure this would be a mindset shift, but a lot of young athletes don't really know quite yet what like their 100% is, right? Um, and so, uh, when you ask them to give 100%, physically, right? What does that do to them mentally? And so, I think perhaps that shift, I see it more like middle school ish when they start to lift weights a little bit and they start getting like they max out, right? That's when they start to realize, oh, okay, this is my 100, right? That's when I start to see that mindset shift. But I would say resilience, right? Um, when they make a mistake, um, they think that they're automatically going to get taken out of the game, or they're going to get sat, right? Or they're going to lose that position. Somebody else is going to take that position over. They're never going to get played again. Uh, and the resilience, the confidence, that all plays together. It's not separate, right? And so we just, um, I think we have to do a better job overall of teaching those those things to our younger generation, so that they, not just in athletics, right, but in anything, they can overcome uh, all the different transitions in life, right? Friendships, grades, classes. So,
How do you help players bounce back like after a tough tournament? Like they had a tough tournament, either hitting, fielding, pitching. I mean, you do catching, all that, and
yeah,
let's say they just had a tough tournament, right? And we both know that it happens, and it can happen quite a bit. Like, so if they come to you that Monday or whatever day they come after the tournament,
yeah,
how do you help them bounce back and hey, all right, let's go.
yeah. A lot of times, the all right, let's go comes, but first, it's tell me about
Hmm.
it, right? Tell me about what happened. And I like to start with like a couple positives, and sometimes it's really hard for them to tell me positives, right? Or they'll say, "Well, I did this, but," right? And I try to shut that down right away, because even in my physical training, if they're struggling a little bit with their mentality, I'll say, "Okay, what'd you do good? Now tell me something you can fix," right? And I try to train them that way physically, in the physical setting, but mentally, right? So that they work that way when they're performing and I'm not there. So I try to do the same thing if they've had a bad weekend, right? And this would be via Zoom if we're on mental performance, or physically if they come to me for a lesson, right? Um, Tell me a couple good positives, right? What'd you do good? So they'll tell me that, right? And then, okay, what happened, right? For instance, let's say I had a gal that she was pitching really, really well for her team. And then she had a weekend where, for some reason, she's not sure why, she hardly pitched. They didn't play a ton of games, right? But she didn't throw hardly any innings. And she was super upset. She was super frustrated. And I can understand why, right? Um, but Levi, a big part of it was that she had a prior experience, right? Where she uh, wasn't getting opportunity. And so as soon as this happened, her mind went back to, is this going to be like that again? Right. And so once we made that connection and we were able to work through that, right, then we were able to move forward. Okay, now what do we need to do, right? Because this isn't the same situation. You've had great experiences here, right? You've been throwing a lot. Now how can we move forward? Right? And then we make a plan and we get after it, right? But I gotta let them tell me first, right? I don't know what their car ride home was like all the time, right? So I gotta be an ear and let them share with me.
Yeah, because if that car ride home is negative, then I feel like they need someone, to spread the positivity part of the weekend or whatever happened the week, the day, you know, because like you said earlier, like that car ride home, I've heard kids even say, I don't want to get in this car.
Yes. Yes.
Like, and I always wonder. I mean, because me, I've never been in the car ride home and just rah 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 rah. Like I'm
Yeah.
the type that I let my kid come to me, and most of the time now my kid she will come. Oh yeah, I'm like, hey, okay, good job, and she'll be like, nah, man, I did this on this, I bobbled here, I did,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, well, I mean, what you need to do, right? I can take you. We need to work on, right? That's my thing. Like I've never been, the type that just, oh yeah, you did this and you should have done this. And I used to be, but
Yeah.
that was, the younger ages. Now it's like, like I mean, it happened, right? You can't press rewind and
Mm,
go and do it all over again. You just have to work.
yeah. Yeah. You got that right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I'm glad that yeah, it and I can't say that when I was a coach, right? Um, after the games, right? There are times where I wish I would have taken a little bit of time, right? Before I talked to my team, because that probably was the car ride, even though it wasn't a car ride, right? So to speak. But and there's nothing that could be done at that point, and so, but like you said, those are the younger years, and you learn from those, and but now I like you, right? I hope that there's hopefully some teaching or somebody out there that's listening, right? That can maybe make a change at a younger age than I did, because it would probably be beneficial for their athlete.
Mhm. Yep. How do you balance pushing athletes to compete while still protecting their well-being?
Yeah, I think this is huge. I have a athletic training undergrad, and so like I mentioned earlier, sometimes I feel like it's hard for athletes to really know what that 100% is, and I'm really big on whatever you believe in, right? I just believe in 100%, but there are some people that believe in 110. I can give 120, right? And so I always tell them, I don't care what you believe in, okay? But if you believe in 100 or 110, 120, let's figure this out, because then I'm going to push you to that, right? And I want to help you find whatever that is. But uh, that's where we're going to learn, right? So take a pitcher, for example, right? There are times where we're breaking something down. I ask them to go slower. There are times where I want them at their max effort, right? And so, if someone were coming to me every single day, and I was just having them throw, even with softball, right? Everybody says you can throw whatever you want, whenever you want, right? If they were throwing 100 pitches, 5 days a week, no, right? I'd be burning them out. Um, so, I think it's just a lot of logistics, right? making sure that you're mixing up what you're actually doing. If I have pitchers that throw multiple pitches, right, we'll mix up those pitches during, throughout their sessions so that they're not throwing everything all the time. Maybe we're throwing innings like once a month, right? But other than that, maybe we're really focusing in and honing in on their spins and each pitch. And then I give them workouts at home too, right? So that they're not just like showing up one day a week and I'm working them hard and then they're not doing anything, obviously the girls that I'm working with are very, very dedicated and they're playing travel ball. So they're practicing playing year round, right? And even when I am not with them, they're practicing, right? I give them homework, right? So they're going and they're doing that homework. And so I'm really proud that I work with a lot of athletes that are dedicated. They do that homework, right? And then when they come back, right, we continue to grow. They're conditioned to continue to grow, right? But yeah, I think it's there's a fine line to make sure that you're physically pushing them, mentally pushing them. But there are some days where I know athletes are really, really sore. Not necessarily from my workout, but maybe they had a hard strength training workout or a long weekend of games, right? And they come to me on Monday. And I ask them, look, you may not feel like you're at your 100% today, but I still want you to give me your best effort, right? Your hitting velocity may not be what it normally is, but that doesn't mean that mentally you can't give me your best. That's really what I look for in athletes.
Okay. Okay. So, knowing what you know now, what's some advice that you would give your younger self?
Oh my goodness, Levi! I thought I asked you to prepare me here. You couldn't have sent me this question earlier. Oh man. Oh. Um. Probably that. I never really thought that I would. Um, I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. I never thought that I would uh, be a mental performance coach. Um, I never thought that I would, uh, work with athletes on a daily basis outside of, coaching a team, right? Um, and life has definitely taken me on a journey. Um, I'm not even halfway through, I guess. And who knows what the other half will look like. So I guess just hold on for the ride, right? I'm I'm not really a procrastinator. I definitely um, like challenges, right? And so I guess yeah, take the twists and turns and enjoy it. I guess is what I would tell myself if I were a little younger. That it's going to be a good ride.
Okay. And like, what made you want to be like a coach, a college coach, high school coach? Was that something that
Yeah.
you thought about like as a kid or something, or it just came up and you took it?
So when I think I was a junior in college, my coach came to me and asked me if I wanted to be her grad assistant when I graduated. And so I was like, well, this is awesome. Like, get my master's degree paid for. Uh, I get to hang out, at college for a couple more years, right? And and so uh, the biggest and hardest thing I think at that point was my teammates then became my players, right? So I had to make that dividing line very quick, right? Um, but that's who got me started, was my coach, who's, a a very large part, and has been, of my life, my career, a huge mentor of mine, even to today, right? She's still coaching. Um, and so while I was her graduate assistant, I also started coaching I was a high school coach,
Hmm.
at an area high school right down the road. And I was pretty fortunate to be able to do that. I remember even talking to my coach, and she was like, your main purpose here is to be my assistant. You're working on your master's degree. You have a part-time job. Now you want another part-time job, be a head softball coach at this high school. To do that, you have to be a substitute teacher, and that's just been my life, Levi. Like, I do 10,000 different things at once, right? And so I said, Coach, I can do it. I want to do this. I want to make sure that I want to go into college coaching. So I got to check this high school stuff off, right? And so she understood that, and that was pretty cool. And so I did that for 2 years, till I was done with my master's, and then I got a head coaching position right out of getting my master's degree. And so that's what I started doing. And then I actually got really burnt out. So I stepped away for about 5 years. And then watching my boys, 2023, I was like, I'm going to do lessons like twice a week. And so within 3 weeks, I was doing it 7 days a week. Um, and then little by little, um, it became winter, and I live in Iowa.
Mm.
And so I all of a sudden was an entrepreneur. I didn't want to lose my clients, right? I enjoyed what I was doing, and so I was working a full time job and doing this in the evenings and on the weekends, and here I am. I started doing mental performance because when started to get back with the athletes, I noticed that something was different, right? They didn't have the mentalities that I felt like I did, right? Like, they weren't confident, they weren't getting over their errors and their mistakes. They didn't have that resilience, right? I was feeling better about their mistakes before they were. Um, so that's why I went into mental performance. I started trying to figure out how I could educate myself to help them. And so that's what got me into it.
Mm. Okay, yeah, I couldn't live up there. It's too cold.
Oh, it's been snowing again
Oh,
today. So, um,
oh, oh. That's the one thing that's the
yeah,
reason why I can't live up north is of the snow. When it snowed down here, my kids, my
yeah.
wife, they want come, let's go outside. Oh no, it's way too cold. Why would I want to go out there in the snow?
Oh, you only live once.
No, my wife want to go to New York for the winter, the all of that
Oh,
stuff, and I'm like, the summertime is perfectly fine. That's,
it's pretty. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I enjoy it when it falls. It's pretty.
hmm.
But then I want it gone, right?
Yeah, and
Because then it
it's
gets
funny
dirty
because
and ugh,
here in Texas when it's hot and it's like, oh my goodness, it's so hot.
yeah,
But when it get cold, it's a little bit of cold. You see, I got my hoodie on. It's
yeah.
not even that cold.
Uh, I'm sure you guys are like in the 70s, right?
well, now it's probably like 60 something.
Oh my God.
We was in the 70s a day, but was at the beginning of the week it was like 50. Oh my goodness, and me out there delivering, I was bundled up. You could see my eyes only.
Oh my, you know what? We were like, I think when I took the kids to school on Monday, my truck read 3 degrees. So with the wind chill, we were well below zero.
Oh no, no school closed.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the cold either, to be honest with you. And especially when it gets windy and it's like, that's what's brutal, right? The
Yep.
wind.
Yep.
So
So what
I would
what
prefer it be warm too.
no, yeah. I like the sun. The sun is good. I rather sweat. I can wear a muscle shirt or something that's
Yeah,
perfectly fine with me.
there you go. Yeah,
What's some advice that you would give a young athlete that's just getting into sports?
that's just getting into sports.
Hmm.
Um, um, be a sponge, right? Like, learn as much as you can. Just, of course, it would, you know, you mentioned young athletes, so but just um, I would even I mean, kids are so playful. I think it's really the coaches and the adults that take that playfulness away. Um, and I have been one of them, right? I have been that coach. I have been that adult, right? And I've lived and I've learned, right? So, uh, but even more so, besides the kid, right? Um, I would want to give advice to that parent, and to the parent, right? I would want to tell them or advise them a good coach is really hard to find. Um, but find that coach for your kid.
Hmm.
Do the due diligence, right? When you are out at the ball field, no matter what type of sport it is, when your kid competes against another team, and you notice that team and that coach has qualities that you teach at home, right? And that you believe in, write down that team name. And when tryout season comes up, look up that team and find out when their tryouts are, right? Because uh, we tend to forget that stuff, right? And then we feel like we're stuck on a team. I've seen this, right, over and over again. We feel like we're stuck or we can't find the right team. Um, but it is so important for us to find the right coach for our athlete, for our kid.
Hmm. Yep, it is very important, and
Yeah,
sometimes you might, from the outside looking in, you might think that coach is, oh yeah, that coach is it. Oh yes,
so
that coach is, yes, let's go there. And then you get there and it's like, yeah, that coach not it.
true. Yes, you have to do your due diligence, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's just, I mean, I feel like that's part of our. I mean, sports are such a influential part of um, a child's childhood,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
And teenage years that I feel like it's up to us as parents, right, to make sure that we're putting them in the best environment that we can.
Yep. So I have some, I call it some quick hitters. It's just some either or
Okay.
questions.
Okay.
All right. So as a player, did you rather small ball or swing big?
Swing big.
Did you like an early lead and come back and win, or just wait, an early lead or a late comeback?
Mm, I just wanted to win.
True. No matter how you
I
win,
don't care which one it is. No, let's win.
high reps or high focus?
High focus.
Take the safe play or go for the highlight?
Um, I'll say safe play.
Confidence or consistency?
Hmm. Man, you're killing me here. Um, one of these are going to come back to haunt me. I just know it. Um, who? Confidence.
Okay. This for game day. You want to do a hype talk or just stay calm?
Calm.
Deep breath or walk it off?
Walk it off.
Pre-game music or silence?
Music.
All right. After a mistake, you want to laugh it off, or learn fast.
Learn fast.
You for the mindset, you want to say we got this, or prove them wrong.
Both. Both. I need a C option.
Right. Good. That's a good one. So my final question I have is, who would you like to see on the podcast? But you would have to help me get your answer on the podcast.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It could be a
Um,
young athlete, college, anything.
yeah. I think multiple people should be on this podcast. Um, so uh, I am gonna. It's a good one. I think I'll help you. But I think that we should call upon my okay. So my first instinct, right, was my coach, right, uh, who is head softball coach, uh, associate athletic director, right, and I think she would bring. I think she'd be great on here. So I think she, and then I have an athlete that I think would be great on here too.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. We need to make it happen. Make it happen.
yeah, yeah. That's a good question.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate you giving me your time and coming on, dropping your knowledge on the podcast. It's greatly appreciated. To for
Yeah,
me to talk to someone on here that I really don't know, right? I have a lot of people on here that are coaches that I know them. I know them, been knowing them for a few years. So it's always good to have them on there, but it's also good to have people on here that I don't really know personally on the personal part of it. So I really appreciate
yeah,
you for taking your time out and doing the podcast.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm glad we got it scheduled and we're able to get it done. And yeah, I look forward to keeping in touch, and I appreciate getting to know you a little bit throughout this, and appreciate you having me on.
All right, all right. Have a good night.
Yeah, you
All right,
too. Thanks, Levi.
all right. Thank you.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.